traditional textile with contemporary textile. And I've been privileged enough to work with some of the world's best curators who understand how you present, how you get across your image, how you tell your story, that it originates out of a tradition, but it's built on and taken forward. And so each of these were curated by, a series of curators. This is at the Craft and Folk Art in San Francisco. A simple interlocking naga that turns, that I magnify and stylize. Bands of a continuous brocade, which is reminiscent of your songcat, and how that can be interpreted infinitely into anything. There is no end. And I have one small piece right here of a continuous brocade, where I just take that beautiful border, simplify it, and it becomes a hanging. So it's the ability to see and imagine and create, and then have the technical, the vision to do it, and the technical knowledge. So for example, right here, you see, keep your eye on that green sage piece. This is Mr. Valentino, the designer's sofa in his Paris apartment. And if any of you have seen the film called The Last Emperor, he sits, Mr. Giametti, his business partner, chooses anywhere in the world to sit on this sofa and be interviewed for that movie. So, it was a man like Valentino who saw this fabric, who envisioned it as something else. It wasn't just a fabric from Laos. He saw it as an idea. It was now the beginnings of an engineered piece of furniture, haute couture for the home, for him. And it took a designer like Valentino to say, aha, these are really special. I will design the furniture around the fabric instead of the fabric around the furniture. Until then, our fabrics were not considered wide enough. Oh, they're only 31 inches wide, or 28 inches wide, 80 centimeters. And everyone was saying, can't you weave 54 inches? And I said, no, we can't. Our weavers aren't big enough. It's not economically possible to weave 130, 140 wide. It took a designer, and I worked with an architect called Peter Marino in New York, who said, aha, how wide can you weave? I said 31 inches. He said, I'll design each panel to be 30 inches. And thus was the beginning of our international career in haute furniture. Here's another version with a beautiful traditional textile that this is the same Paris apartment, but with another fabric as the throw. So here, I'm in Laos. We have no bridge. Everything is bamboo. There's no phone lines. We have barely a hospital. It's 1990, it's 1991, it's 1992. Our staff have never had a job coming to a work. They worked at home. They worked in the rice fields. Now they have to come to a studio and create their craft. And then we're weaving fabric for Mr. Valentino. He's been doing this his whole life. He's an expert at couture. Every thread mattered. Every color matters. Every wrinkle matters. Everything matters. And so the challenge to bridge those two worlds was enormous. Here, this was a wonderful exhibition, continuing on our little global journey. This was in Phoenix, and the exhibition that I did was juxtaposed with the Navajo weaver. And the Navajo weavers were so amazed that this tradition and this product, these weavings, were so close to theirs, but it was a world away. And so it brought to mind all of the, mobility of humanity, and who created what, and where it all came from. And we didn't get any answers, but it was incredible to see the Navajo and the Lao together. Again, a central part of our exhibitions is that we educate, we teach, we bring alum. Chan, one of my favorites there, she came with us. So it's about bringing that story to the audience, and that they understand a little bit about what it is that we're trying to do. Here you can see a a piece where an ikat, this is actually a multiple color, 4 colors in the ikat combined with a contemporary piece. And ikats, these are all little vignettes. Every piece is a collage, and that's what you'll see at Cellini's gallery. There are maybe 20 little vignettes, and every one of them is a collage of a series of textiles put together, color, form, design. Every one of them makes for a painting or individual components of a painting. And this idea was brought to me through the brilliant curatorship of Dorothy Globus, who is currently the director of, she's a curator at the Museum of Art and Design in New York City. And she was formerly at the Cooper Hewitt and the director at the Fashion Institute of Technology in New York. So each of these, again, the ability, contemporary, traditional, it's all, you know, it's new, it's old, it's earth colors, it's pastels, it's whatever people are interested in. Here's a beautiful tapestry piece, which of course I would never weave today. This took us 6 months. Chan and her twin sister wove this. She's from a Hmong family, and her sister both are brilliant weavers. Hmong generally don't weave, but she is a magnificent weaver. And a piece like this, just to invest the time today, would cost many, many, many thousands of dollars compared to when we started and created it. So I keep a foundation of fabrics that we don't sell, that are part of my permanent collection, which we could never recreate. So these are just a little bit, some more traditional, some based on tradition, some with discontinuous. They practice a variety of techniques, how they're used as contemporary pieces. Here's a sofa. This is very funny. This is a beautiful brocade sofa, which we've only made maybe 20 in the world. Well, guess what? I was in San Francisco making a presentation for my Cambodian studio. It was held at the home of the woman who had commissioned one of these sofas. So I walked in and I saw our sofa. In all the world, it's like the needle in the haystack. So I thought, oh, isn't this just marvelous? To sit and to see the sofa that you created, the color, dyed, wove, shipped, and then had to see it as a finished product. So we do all kinds, over the years, the projects involve pillows, they involve ogi, they involve kimono, they involve, there's no shortage of ideas where they could be employed. Different, playing with a color, playing with a design, how to innovate and create. There is no limit to sitting down in the loom. It could be any of these, all of these. The problem comes when you recreate it. And here, training our staff, I've trained over the years, meticulously, color theory, how to replicate a color. And anyone involved in production knows how complicated it is and how hard it is. So it is the ability to have it be replicable within a certain standard, maybe 2%, maybe 3%, and then be able to offer our client a consistency to it. And that is, of course, the years and years and years of training. This is our blind washer. You can feel the silk, how much water, how much it's massaged. Do we add a fabric softener or not? Do we soak it? How long do we soak it? We have to take out the rice paste. Does it have the rice paste? Do you want all the rice paste out? It all changes the hand, the texture. So each of these skills, cutting every little bit of fringe so that the fringes are perfectly straight across. The labor, the skill, the knowledge, all that create one simple scarf. Making the fringe, creating these beautiful, I spent 6 months teaching how to make a simple fringe beautifully on this scarf. So it's not just, it's a scarf. It's a scarf that was hours of learning and their dedication, my skill, being able to teach them. And that is extracted into that single piece. So here you have, here she's just After it's all done, the fringe are clipped, it's perfectly done, the spray with water, ironing it, keeping it perfect, and then, of course, rolling it up. This studio is our studio in Cambodia, which it was 8 hours from Phnom Penh. It was the most heavily bombed and landmined it's called Preah Vihear province. There was no accessibility. I had to go in a private aircraft for years. Our first road went in this year in January, so it's only 6 hours. So in these remote circumstances, as difficult as it is, people with one limb, a blind washer, it's not an excuse for an inferior quality or getting it wrong. It's an ability that they have, that they're proud to be part of a global economy and say, we make something beautiful and we sell it at the Guggenheim Museum. We sell it in Washington. We make it these were for Barney's in New York. It's not to be poor, to have one leg, to live in a village with no running water. A million reasons why we cannot weave your scarf, and we can't do it perfectly. And I'm here to say they can do it, and they did do it. So we shattered the myths about third world, and it doesn't work, and we don't have access, and there's a million reasons why it can't be done, but it can be done. So it is that inspiration that is our staff are so proud in both Laos and Cambodia that we can do this.